Hello, good evening, Alan. Welcome back to JACKOCAR. This is the Kia series, and you're joining me, Gareth Hall, for, unfortunately, another street track. We're here in Monaco, and I would usually be joined by Yuri Hasselager, and I'm sure in the background you can hear, "Hi guys, unfortunately I'm not feeling very good today, so I'm gonna have to be staying in bed and watching the race online." So no, I'm actually joined by another race winner, a multiple-time race winner, but unfortunately not yet able to capture that all-elusive title. It's the second fastest man in team speed. It is Mr. Ben Shaw.
Good evening, Mr. Gareth, of course. Brilliant to be the number one and two in a party together, commentating together. No need to have that little dig-in about the championship, but it's. I want to say it's nice to be here, but I know what we're going to be in store for, so I'm not totally looking forward to it. But I'm interested to see how these 16 guys and girl will handle Monaco in a pressure situation. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's of Yuri's design was the street tracks all for the playoffs, and of course this is the first of the elimination races. No Robin Border, no Rageman tonight, so he is automatically eliminated, and we are set to lose one more, and
No,
that
I'll have to correct you there. Robin Border is
is he
attending
here? Has
today.
he
He
joined?
fixed his Wi-Fi.
Oh,
He
excellent!
should
There you
be.
go. I've literally just got in from work, so
Yeah, no, about an hour and a half before the race, there was no Robin, but he is in, thankfully. So we've got a six-man shootout essentially for the round of six.
And it's actually quite close as well. You've got Rico on -4, so he is currently the one with the most work to do. Robin then sits on -2, Matt Shepherd +2, Dustin +3, Dustin being Fozzie Bear 70, and even Jacko +7 isn't safe.
No, he's not safe. The only one you could not comfortably say, but Matt Shepherd, he's 20 points clear. He's going to need a win from the bottom two and a DNF and good points for the rest for him to end up not going through to the round of six. But it's all still mathematically possible. So we can't
Matt
rule it out
Lester, you
just
not
yet.
Matt Shepherd.
Yeah, so
We have many Matts here. Yes, unfortunately.
yeah,
Yes,
so Matt Shepherd. Yeah, Matt Shepherd. He's 20 points clear.
Matt Lester is 20 points clear.
Then it's Matt Lester who's 20 points clear. They're all Matts.
Honestly,
it
it was worse when Newgarden was here. So Matt Lester is 20 points clear. But if you've watched Keir before, you know that he tries his hardest to bottle it. So there is a good chance that Matt Lester goes out tonight. Would probably be a first that a driver has been +20 and still gets knocked out. But it is Keir, which literally means anything, not even can happen, but probably will happen. First one out is Scott Hayes, and Scott, of course, loving and dutiful workmate of Mr. Jack Ricketts himself. Actually, an amateur stock car driver in the IRL, in the real life. He's actually treated Kia pretty much the same as his banger. He found more success with the car with 3 wheels than it has with 4 wheels, but out on the circuit after missing last week, so a lot of work to do for him. He's sitting in the chase. The chase currently looking somewhat tight as well, with the likes of Jess and Bazza fighting over that one, separated by a point. Marco only -4 back, and OKK -7 as well. OKK, who probably would have wanted to come away from Singapore last week leading the chase, but unfortunately all falling apart in the final stages of that race. And if you did miss it, don't go back and watch it. No point. Absolute waste of time. It was Quinn that won the race, so therefore there's no need anyone needs to ever go back to that. But Ben, why don't we test your knowledge here? We'll go round on board with Scott, and you can give me the corner names around Monaco.
That's brilliant. Okay, so we're on board here. Now that is Casino, I believe. Now we're going to go down to this one, which I don't know the name of, but he's going to turn right, I'm sure of that one. He's going to put the throttle down, and then he's going to take a left. That is a hairpin. That is definitely a hairpin. That's a wall. Don't touch that one. Another right. That's brilliant. Great. I mean, I don't need to know the names of these corners because I'm so quick that I can't even register them. So I just go past them and they're already been and gone. We're going through the tunnel. This is indeed a tunnel. Very fast, very fast. And he's going to take a nice left there. Hopefully don't hit that inside wall. Takes a nice clean of it. Clean again through there. It's a respectable lap so far from Scott. Got to be going faster through there though. you need to have a bit more bollocks about him going through that path left. But going to the swimming pool, nice and tidy, no walls, which is, I think, the most important thing for some of these guys tonight. Round Raskas, round the final corner, gets the DRS on. It's a clean lap, it's a respectable lap, it's something on the board, but it's probably not going to be pole.
No, probably not. He was actually down in third gear for the swimming pool exit, which
So fast.
which I think you take in fifth. Yeah, unfortunately for Scott, that's at least a time set, which might actually be somewhat successful as we go over now to Paul McGuinness, who's decided to finally move away from an all-red car, which might have been the reason why he's been so rubbish this season in his return to F1, as he misses the manhole cover on the left-hand side, dips down over the hill, and I'll have a fair whack at the corners after Ben, of course, gave you that expert opinion of his on-board lapper, and of course former race winner in Monaco. Yes, absolutely, former race winner around Monaco in JACKOCAR. Myself, a race winner in VSL, which is basically JACKOCAR on steroids. And we've got Paul McGuinness now straight lining the chicane just enough to keep the speed up, as Scott there keeping the car completely stationary, so really not helpful because you'll end up getting disqualified doing that. But there we go, that's how you cut the corner for Paul McGuinness, and takes too much inside curb, and will have to complete his lap. So he will unfortunately be starting at the back of this one, or at least towards the back. Of course, it all depends on race number, but with a race number in the 90s, unfortunately for Mr. McGuinness, it's most likely going to be starting towards the rear end of this one. So we'll go over to Evil Dragon, Liam New, and we'll take you on board a lap of Monaco with Evil, who's actually been working in tandem with EA to develop the next generation of anti-cheat. They weirdly gave him the source code for the grip pack, so I don't know why about that, but it's clearly making it all better. So of course he makes his way through up the hill, past Turn 1 at Sandoval, all through Beau Rivage, and now into Massenet Casino Square. That then shoots you out through Casino, down the hill, take to the right hand of the circuit as you go down towards the Mirabeau. Turn 5 sends you down to what is now called the Grand Hotel hairpin. Of course, Jacko will tell you that he was meant to stay in that every single time he's in commentary. Through to the second part of Mirabeau, that's Mirabeau Basse, and into Portier. Portier will spit you out to the tunnel where you go underneath the flats. Of course, this tunnel much longer than it used to be back when the circuit was first raced back in the 1930s. Down towards Nouvelle Chicane, two cars have ended up in the harbour in F1's history on the exit of Nouvelle Chicane. Through to back, of course, named for the tobacconists on the corner. Through the swimming pool chicane, take it as fast as you can. It's Louis Chiron the first bit, Piscine or the swimming pool on the exit. Now into the Rascasse. The right-hander sends you into Anthony Nogues. The final corner is back on the loud pedal as soon as possible. DRS open, send yourself up to the line. Evil is going to take pole position by 12.3, 2 seconds faster than Scott, but probably I'm expecting pole to be in the mid-11s. We'll see what Michael Okeke can do. Not much better. He's already invalidated, which I'm guessing would have been at turn 1. So Okeke will be starting alongside Paul McGuinness at the back of this one. Who is next up? I believe we've got Harry Collier for you, Ben.
Yeah, that was just a little touch on Okeke before we move on. Yeah, you were correct. It was turn 1. Took that inside way too tight. The lap was done before it even really started, unfortunately. But Harry, I'm expecting higher things from him than what we saw so far. But I'm looking at through Casino, and that's very understeery. There's not much planted there, but it's still purple sector 1. I don't know if I can believe that with this game. But it's, it's as I say, it's a lap for these guys. I think if you're not going to start on the very back row, just try and get a lap together and just see where you end up. But I sort of worry that getting a valid time will probably end up in around the 10th or 9th position. So
I think that's the worry here. Is you've got for the majority. I think this is the case for Cup as well, but you kind of have to choose what the poison chalice is, because if you start in the middle, you're going to be causing the chaos most likely. If you start at the back, you're going to be running over all of the chaos, so you end up with, as I did a few seasons ago, with a puncture due to no fault of my own. So you kind of need to qualify at the front, and Harry, you're not going to do that by planting your nose straight into the wall on the exit of the Rascasse. And unfortunately, Harry, who's actually been picking it up in qualifying recently, is going to be dropping all the way to all the way. I say all the way. He's still faster than Scott, so that shows how bad Scott was. But Harry
You've
Collier.
got to wonder if he didn't completely bottle that into Raskas, could he have been a little bit closer to Liam's time there, really? He probably would have lost at least half a second through there because that
Oh,
was not a
comfortably.
pretty
He
corner.
almost had to reverse on the exit.
Mm.
Harry Collier is actually, I've got written down here, Harry and Okeke have been running such negative camber that they can't help themselves but spin into the wall at every opportunity. But Vitinho out there as well, and well, the man that they call the Brazilian Matt Shepherd, and weirdly they call Matt Shepherd the English Vitinho, as both of them have some sort of weird sexual kink for finishing races or finishing laps without front wings. But it is a 12-2 for Vitinho, who does seem to turn up in qualifying and then somewhat falls away. He's a little bit of a Jamie Numbers of turning up in qualifying and then finishing very much in mediocrity. But he goes to the top of this one. A 12-2 puts him out in front by a couple of tenths of a second. We've now got both Bazza and Jess out on the circuit. Bazza's making his way now down towards the Mirabeau, and Jess, of course, is out on circuit as well, and she is just coming through the final few corners, up through the Rascasse into Anthony Noakes. Jess, who of course, first podium of the season last week. What can she do? It looks as though it's going to be a 12-7, puts her currently provisionally second row of the grid.
Yeah, respectable lap from Jess. I mean, as I say, it's just getting it through the lap. Just a little point of Patino, as you were just saying there, he's a great qualifier, not a good racer. Maybe that's because he's got 15 other cars that's going to be around him with that whole lag and whatnot. I think it's probably a bit difficult for him to even negotiate some of the corners, as we saw last week in Singapore. But yeah, I'm hoping that he'll have a cleaner one today. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure that everyone's really looking forward to that 700 ping as they go into turn one with Vitinho. But around Anthony Noakes onto the main straight, I say main straight, more of a kink for Bazza, and he puts himself P6, 1:14.4. Not a great lap time there from Bazza. Bazza actually turning into me a little bit and completely losing the ability to qualify for someone that has won races in the past. So he won't be particularly happy with that one. And as I just mentioned him a couple of minutes ago, it is the English Vitinho, the man that. Well, he feels at home without an end plate. That's the only way to drive the car, it seems, as soon as he starts a lap. But Matt Shepherd himself sitting potentially in danger. He'll be hoping for a decent run tonight as he gets through the swimming pool. Takes a little bit more speed through it. Of course, they're still a little bit tentative. You can run over those curbs pretty aggressively. During the race, you may want to take it a little bit more careful because you will unfortunately ruin the floor. But gets on the low pedal, forces it down, take the inside line. You have to hope that no one's coming out the pit lane there because you'll cause an almighty accident. And Matt Shepherd a 1:12.8, so we're starting to see times in the 8s. I would expect to see pole in the mid-11s once we start seeing Jacko, Lesty, Wace and Quinn out. And we can mention, because we've got Fozzie making his way down through now into the Novo chicane, but do we want to make any reference before he comes out Mr. Daniel Quinn's new username?
We will get round to it when he comes out the pits. It was a sight, let's put it that way. When I realised, I think it was about 1 a.m. on a random morning, I was pressing my friends list. He was online at this time of day, and I saw he was online. I was like, that's an interesting username, but obviously his esports team wasn't getting the funding that it was meant to have. I'm sensing a bit of a rich energy situation there. But
and a username straight out of year 7. So Rageman is also out, and he's unfortunately been completely flummoxed at the hairpin by who was that?
That was the league owner.
It was
the league owner.
It was Mr. Ricketts who's blocked a quali lap. And as a steward, what is the penalty for someone that has not got out of the way on a quali lap?
I believe that is a qualifying ban for the next race, but we'll have to see. We don't know. It's the hairpin, of course. We'll have to check it, but if that's reported, I would imagine that they would then.
I mean, you would assume that any regular, of course, reputable driver would have got out of the way on the way down the hill towards Mirabeau, not even allowing them to get close. But clearly, Jacko thinking he's bigger than the league, and he should be rightfully punished with that one, as Rico out. And Rico, who's another driver that potentially can cause an upset if he can keep it out of the wall. He's never actually completed a lap of Monaco down the pit straight. Each lap he usually ends trip down the pit lane. But what can he do? It says it's gone purple in Sector 2. Yuri did tell me it goes purple if you've beaten the lap time of the person before you or ahead of you, I think it is. So it might be that you did a faster lap than Paul McGuinness. I don't quite get how that works, but it's P7 for Rico at 14.143, 5 thousandths of a second slower than Harry Collier. And Rageman, who is on his way back in, he invalidated his lap, which means we've now got Jacko on his flying lap, and he doesn't get compromised by one of the other cars as he goes down towards Nouvelle Chicane.
He was messaging me before the race. I was going to say, he sent me a lovely lap he did on TT before, 10.7 on TT, and I said, oh, that should be enough for him, but it wasn't as scruffy as this one. I've witnessed 2 wall scrapings on this lap so far, but we'll see how it goes. It's a bit interesting because it seems like as the time's going on, it seems like the times are going higher rather than lower, as Jacko slightly squashes that sort of hypothesis with the 12.4, but he won't be happy with that one. He won't be happy whatsoever.
No, because that could have quite easily been pole position, but unfortunately he's shit. So Lesty now going through the tunnel, and it looked like he had no front wing there for a second, so we'll check that. Yes, he hasn't got no front wing, so at some point he's gone nose first into something, because he's taken not only one side off but both sides off. So Matt Lester, who we did say is not safe but would need an almighty race from the guys outside or in the drop zone to eliminate him, but at the moment he's going to be travelling around on his own, and he will get no more airtime. We'll move over to Wace, and Wace has actually been practicing Monaco in reverse this week, as his plan immediately is to turn around, start driving the opposite way and take out Quinn at Nouvelle Chicane, and so we'll see if he can take it to the left-right this time rather than the right-left, and you really want to cut it as much as possible. More than that, it was too wide on as he crossed over, and he actually kisses the wall twice, gets away with it a little bit, but down through the exit of the swimming pool, tail end looking a little bit happy, into the Rascasse, another scrappy lap from these Kia drivers as he kicks the tail end out again, out through Anthony Nogues. It is somewhat quick, but I don't think it's going to challenge. Oh, it does. It is an 11.9, so he does actually take 3 cents off somehow. So that should mean that Mr. I'm Bad at F1 Quinn should take pole position relatively.
Oh, he's lost his wheel! No way.
I'm into it. Totally deserved. Totally deserved.
The exit of the car park, the right, he's hit that barrier on the left hand side, and he's lost his wheel and his car is parked.
I mean, that is
in
embarrassing.
The middle of the track. That is embarrassing. I said before the race in the Kia chat, he's got 15 extra seconds for his quali time to think how he's going to live up to his new gamer tag. And to be honest, fair play to him, he's used those 50 seconds really, really well, because he's proved that he is in fact bad at F1.
Yeah, true. And I didn't even get time to go through his profile. I mean, and that is more embarrassing than the fact that he's actually been banned from being within 400 metres of every primary school in Bedfordshire. He's actually been coined the Luton Gimp and has been seen trying to get into Year 5 PE lessons dressed in a black PVC suit. So, yeah, I would say that was embarrassing, being caught doing that, but not as much as being caught in... well, I would say 4K, but it's not 4K, it's about 2K that I'm bringing you at the moment. But it is Wace that takes pole position, a 1:11.9 in a lap that probably could have been beaten by most drivers if they had been semi-competent around the lap. But it is Wace from Fortunio from Evil. Jacko somehow steals a second row start. Jess, Matt Shepherd, Dustin, Harry, Rico, Scott, who will start inside the top 10, even though what we thought with his first lap was absolute garbage. He's going to be in that mid-pack, so that's going to be interesting. Bazza Lesty with a 1:30 is going to finish or start in front of both OKK and of Quinn, who of course ended with both an invalidation and, if you're Quinn, with 3 wheels on the wagon. Rageman and Paul McGuinness, who also invalidated their one, but it is a pole position of a 1:11.925 for Wace there. And just comparing that to the last time that we were here, as I did actually do some work very, very briefly. I literally got home from work, got straight on my laptop and did about 10 minutes of writing. Last time we were here, it was the 11th of October 2022, so just over, 14 months ago. It was Yuri on pole position with 1:11.078. Of course, that was on the old game as well, so it's slightly different time-wise, but you can tell roughly around about the 11s. Leroy that day was in P2, and Speed Sully, Michael Sullivan, who has seemingly, I think, I'm sure Ben can back me up on this, having been in a speed chat with you guys for probably about 18 months now, I think has possibly been abducted whilst looking for mangoes in the Amazon forest and has never returned.
I've heard rumours. I have heard rumours, but we can't confirm that just yet. We need to look into it. We do indeed.
And it was actually, last time we were here, was an all-speed top 3 finish, and it was Matt Rosemond taking his first and only ever win in JACKOCAR in controversial circumstances when unfortunately Yuri had to pit on the final corner, which unfortunately gave up the win to Newgarden and Sully, who almost beat him into P2. So it was Newgarden, Sully and Yuri were your top 3 that day. And as we get ready to kick off the formation lap and send us for 39 laps of this track that I actually quite like driving here, but I mean, we had 5 finishes out of 18 around Singapore, which, as I said to the guys in the week, is the easy street track that we race at. This is going to be a fucking disaster.
Yep. And I think the biggest problem that we have is that we don't have a film. Now, I propose, as we will most likely have to have a discussion in an interval, I think we should discuss the Las Vegas GP, if that is what you wish to discuss, because there's no films to my mind.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I've actually, the Las Vegas GP, I was also thinking we can discuss but Ajax's current season I thought would be quite an interesting one to go through as well. I've actually got the stats of how Ajax are doing, and I thought that would be a nice one for one of the inevitable safety cars coming up. And we can also debate the Gareth Southgate debate if you'd like to have it. So
I wouldn't mind that, considering I'm not an England fan, so
exactly,
to speak.
yes,
If they win, great. If they don't, I couldn't give a shit. But yeah, I think we've got some topics covered. That's at least 3 safety cars, and we're going to at least get 3. So I think we're sorted
comfortably.
I think we're ready to go.
Do you want to make a quick bet on how early into the race we'll get our first safety car? Bear in mind that we got our first
half a lap.
I was going to say we got our first safety car I think last week after about 3 corners. So I think
I'd say Casino.
You're being ambitious.
By the time Waze gets to Casino, I think we're going to see Bert Mylander come out for the first time. That's my prediction.
Right. So, is anyone going to go for an interesting position on the grid here? Because you can actually block quite a large majority of the circuit if you take a slightly interesting line into your grid slot, or are all going to be a little bit boring and all line up nicely? It looks as though they're all a little bit naff.
Keke had a bit of an angle there, but he overshot it, so he's been moved back anyway.
Right, so we're trying to wait for the lights. I can't see him. There we go. 4 lights, 5 lights, pause. Still waiting. Higher on the revs and off and underway here in the Monaco Grand Prix as JACKOCAR Kiri Series gets going. We've already got a crash at the back. And we've got surely a safety car because we had 2 cars tagged, and I think that was Dustin. That was Scott that's gone around into the wall. Yellow flags currently just local and gone green. Hold on, we're back yellow. But no, we will continue as Waze leading. Vitinho, Evil, Jacko, Shep and Jess are your top 6 as they make their way down through to Mirabeau for the first time here. 1 of 39, and we are currently green. I'm not holding my breath as we're down into the hairpin. As there we go. As that was a lovely move there from, I believe that was Paul McGuinness, who just completely ploughed into the back of Quinn as they clearly all checked up, and Paul just wasn't paying attention, straight into the back, and no front wing for him, and possible rear wing damage for Quinn, which I'm sure he'll be delighted with, as we're on board with Jess as she's making her way through the Nouvelle chicane in towards Tabac for the first time, as we get a shot from the almost from one of the flats as the cars flash through the entry of the swimming pool, and on the exit who's going to hit the wall for the first time on the exit, and they will start doing it as soon as they start ramping over, as Matt Shepherd kicks out the rear end on the exit of the Raskas, and that's lost him a little bit of time. But Wace crossing the line on hard tyres, of course, hard tyres for him and Jacko, who are your jokers tonight. So a brave, bold move to go for a joker around Monaco. In Kia,
I'm a fan of that. I mean, obviously, I did the Joker this season in Cup Series, and it worked for me. It's been proven to work, but I feel like with Waze specifically being in first, having that pace advantage over the rest of the field, going on the hards first makes a lot of sense. It gives him so much option later on in the race. He can stick on these hards for as long as he pleases, and when a safety car comes out, inevitably, he's going to be able to decide, right, what do I put on? Do I put the mediums on? Do I put the softs on? And then he's done to the end. So I think in Waze's position, as long as he keeps out the wall and doesn't make any damage, should be pretty clean sailing for him.
Yeah, absolutely. As I'm being screamed at in the comments, tyres please. I think that's by Ben for Spurs. So what we'll do is we'll actually go on board with OKK. So the engineer point is completely moot because we can see exactly what battery he's got, and everyone can see now he's on 63% battery. Oh, we're watching you, Michael. Don't make a mistake. Oh, and
almost.
And Michael, who I think is actively trying to upset the majority of the league here by as we see a move for Lesty and Harry Collier, and of course they share a party, so I think that's a case of get out of the way, Harry, as he lets Lesty through. As OKK is desperately trying to not get into the C5, which we all think he should do, but he's possibly trying to do it in the hopes of making a triumphant return to the Cup Series in place of Michel, who's clearly useless and can't score points in either tier. So we'll see who wins out. Of course, Quinn's probably got his name tagged on for a position in Cup next season. My God, I cannot stand watching another season of him in Kia. And but okay, still chasing down Harry Collier. Jacko now on the back of Evil for 4th and 3rd position.
It's really interesting because you would think, given the fact the fresh softs, that Liam will be putting a charge to Coutinho. Maybe not Waze because of the gap between them in terms of pace, but you'd think he'd be staying with Coutinho, but he's just not. You'd think that Jacko's on the softs and Liam's on the hards at this point. He's easily sliding all around Raskas as well. He just can't get any grip in that car. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe he's turned the hacks off before the race. Who knows? Yeah,
I told you, it's just all a game. He thinks that he's tricking us, but we see it. As I mean, that car looks like it's got the wheel put on upside down or something. It is not going straight out of any corner. But Jacko will be very happy to get past him, because of course on the hard tyres the last thing you want is to get tangled up with someone else or get any sort of wind damage, especially early on. And this definitely looks like Liam set this car up for qualifying and not for the race, because that car is already hurting its tyres.
Yeah, definitely quality trim for that one. Just taking note that there's been 3 pit stops. I'm sorry, apologies. 4 mandatory pit stops that have been taken there by Fozzie, Rageman, Rico and Quinn. Of course, Scott did already serve 1 stop, but he had to pit earlier, so that's not been counted as a mandatory just yet. But they're all going on to mediums. As we get a yellow flag in Sector 3, is that going to carry on? No, it's not. It's fine. So this is where all the pit stops are going to start playing out. Oh, is Jacko almost goes into the wall through the swimming pool section? Very, very close. But no, this is where the strategy is all going to come into play now. It's all about finding the right time to pit and overcutting or undercutting the guys around you, because, I mean, these guys can't overtake at the best of times, but put them in a street circuit like this, it's going to be very, very difficult.
And this is, I think, one of those tracks where it tests the Cup drivers for consistency. I think for the Cup drivers it's more speed consistency, whereas these guys it's probably more your line that you take, because it's really I find it very much a rhythm circuit. You once you've got your lines and you've got your rhythm, you can kind of just go off into a little world of your own and drive around. But unfortunately with some of these guys, they're so unpredictable on circuit, you never quite know where the braking point's going to be lap for lap. So we just check in and see that battle that's kind of starting to build a little bit of a train behind Lesty now. He's got Jess, Harry and OKK for company, and there's such a mix of tyres that of course the likes of OKK just kind of needed to clear these guys already. And is he going to send it down to there we go, lovely send from OKK, gets the move past Harry. He needed to do that as he kicks the rear end out on exit of the Nouvelle chicane, but through to back, and Michael can now chase down Jess. He needs to clear these guys and utilise the soft tyres whilst he can, because the likes of Ivor and Shep are currently almost 5 seconds up the road from him, and Michael, the last thing he wants to be doing is kind of fighting away and losing the majority of the early tyre scrub on these battles he doesn't need to be having.
And that's the problem, I think, for these soft guys right now, is that they probably assume that there would have been an early safety car, and there's only 3 left on track still. They're going to be trying and waiting out for a safety car, which might not come at this point. And I'd imagine that most of the field, or 10th upwards from Bazza, are probably thinking the exact same thing, just in different strategy terms. Because, you know, a stop early makes a lot of sense, but with a track like Monaco and the grid we have, there's a high likelihood of a safety car, so it's just such a waiting game as we get a yellow in sector 2, which doesn't look like it's going to cause anything, unfortunately, which it's not.
No, I think that's Scott getting out the way of the leaders that are already coming through to lap him, so to get lapped on lap 6 is possibly a new record for Kia. We'll have to see. Scott, of course, missed last week and has already been through the pit lane after a crash off the line. I think got tagged by someone that they basically tried turning into each other as they tried to pull away. But as he goes slightly deep into the entry of Raskas, and that's going to compromise him on the exit. And he's actually going to get out of the way. You had way more time if you had to get out of the way. You're being far too nice, Scott, as he gets out of the way of Jacko. So there's some favouritism there. But what he's going to do now is crawl around, and he's going to have to get back on the loud pedal because Lesty's coming round and does not want to catch him going up the hill, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So Matt Lester is going to have to find a way past Scott at some point. He's going to be losing time, not wanting to know where he's going. He's going to finally get down the outside, and Scott is equally going to try and stay out the way of the battling trio behind of Jess, KK and Harry. Well, unfortunately for Scott, the game's still not optimised to let you through if there is a safety car. So he will unfortunately be in purgatory basically for the rest of the race, where he has to pit in if he's in the way of the safety car, and there's basically no way of unlapping yourself, and it's one of the worst feelings ever. As down the inside goes OKK, locking up the tyres. Jess runs into the back of him, but it was a clean overtake from OKK. He can now scamper off, and hopefully that did not cause any rear diffuser damages. I think Jess wasn't expecting the move, and you could see she just went and just gave him a little bit of a bonk. But what have I got? I've got a couple of things written down that I didn't get through in qualifying, as Harry Collier tries to look down the inside of Jess, and Jess is actually going to dive into the pit lane off of the hard tyres. So is that a front wing change? It must be for her after that slight issue. Is there something waiting? No, it's just straight tyres. So hard tyres onto mediums on lap 8.
I like that from Jess. I like that. I think considering she was stuck in the train, that sort of thing, you've got to do something different. I appreciate her trying to do something that's a little bit left field. In theory, I reckon she could do 2 medium stints. Did she start on the hards, if I'm right in saying?
Yes, started on hards.
So there you go then. So I'd imagine that she should be able to make 2 medium stints work here. So I'm liking this. A bit of variation, a bit of difference, away from the top 9 who are being very boring and just waiting for a safety car. It might never come. Who knows? But no, I'm liking the switch. I'm liking it.
Yeah, Jess, who's actually been touted as having a secret relationship with George Morgan, but luckily won't last long because the man loves himself more than any woman ever. So into the tunnel for Rageman, who is chasing now Bazza. So Bazza, who's had a bit of a nothing race, as Matt Shepherd getting a penalty down the inside. Looks Rageman unable to get the move done this time around, but you can tell that Rageman a lot more comfortable on these tyres compared to Bazza on those hard tyres, and well, it's all about making the right move here. Any silly moves, you'll find it's someone who I cannot believe we've got to lap 9. Bear in mind, like I said, Singapore is an easy track. And it's down the inside. Surely goes Robin, as they going to try and go side by side through Antino, because that's not a place you go, as that is once again Scott getting out of the way. So now getting out of the way for the drivers in 9th, 10th and 11th position. So he's going to find himself a full lap down as Bazza cuts the first corner very slightly, and is adding his name to the drivers with a 3-second time penalty already 9 laps in, so plenty of racing left to go. So I think not only potential retirements but penalties will come into play at the end of this race. Evil now chasing down Matt Shepherd.
we sadly have another Paul McGuinness front wing loss. He could be going for Pete's record of pit stops in a Monaco JACKOCAR race at this rate. Is that the third one down already? He's not had a good race. You've got a feel for the guy, but also as well as that, I think it's great that we're seeing Scott, although albeit trundling around, he's still staying in the race, which could end up paying dividends later on down the line. You know, I think he knows he's in that sort of position, but with it being Monaco, and you know, it could happen. As you can tell, I'm crying in a crash because I just want something to happen. Because it seems a bit field spready right now. There's not really much going on.
Oh, welcome to Kia with the field spread.
I've witnessed it. There is a lot of field spread, but with a track like Monaco, you know, at least have some nice and close fighting. But it's not going to happen.
I genuinely think that they're all trying so hard not to crash that they're all driving at about 70%. So we'll probably just never get a safety car. I mean,
I could vouch for you on that one. I mean, I know we've got a couple of 3-second penalties already up on the board, but I think you might be right in saying that. Is that a lot of people are just thinking, let's just finish this. And if we could get a 16 out of 16 finish today, I'd be very, very, very surprised. But I'm quite impressed by them. I'd have to take my hat off and say fair play. But
of course,
whether that'll happen or not, who knows?
This is the home of the first ever JACKOCAR red flag as well, I believe.
It is indeed.
So
it is indeed.
Even Cup managed to have a red flag, and Kia are showing them up at the moment as we've got through 10 laps without any sort of stoppages whatsoever. As the closest battle we've got on circuit is Harry and OKK, who are still with Lesty, and they really are, as you say, the guys on the softs are really kind of hoping for as Lesty dives into the pit lane. So even the guys on the mediums are starting to come in now. So the guys on the softs are just desperately hoping we get a safety car at some point. Of course, you can stretch these tyres a little bit, but as over the debris on the exit of turn 1. I think is that OKK that's lost
that was Matt Shepherd who's lost the wing, and he's lost a little bit more through Casino. There's going to be a lot of debris on that first section.
Yeah,
now he's got no wing.
No
he's
front
got
wing.
No wing.
Oh, that's going to turn like a ship down into the hairpin. He's going to have to really slow it down. So OKK, hopefully he's being told immediately now by Ben Harrett as he kicks the rear end out as he goes through Mirabeau Vasse. And Ben's saying be very, very careful because he is going to be slow, as Scott Hayes getting out the way once again for Quinn, who is having an absolute shocker, and you love to see it as Matt Shepherd gets out, tries to get out of the way, but just doesn't stop for the chicane.
He tried the corner and then just thought, no, this isn't going to happen, and just carried on straight.
He ignores the swimming pool, and he's gonna try and make the second part. Of course, he's fighting for position, so he doesn't have to let OKK through at all. He will dive into the pit lane surely at the end of this one, as OKK is going to give him a little bit of a kiss and actually follow him in. So let's hope they're not teammates.
Oh, OKK's his teammate. No way. No way. With a wing change, that is unbelievable. You've got to feel for Okeke there. You've got to feel for him. He was stuck behind him in no wing for an entire lap. He's lost so much time already, and now he's had to sit there for about 15 seconds while he gets a new wing on.
Who is this man's race engineer? He needs to be fired immediately.
Unbelievable.
Fantastic. Right. So OKK now drops to the rear of the field. He's now behind Quinn, who's just exited the first corner, as Scott Hayes now, I think, is lapped by Rico. So he is pretty much been lapped by the entire field. Just Bazza, who himself is having a shocker. Paul McGuinness, who I had written down for Paul, and it's somewhat coming true that he'd been in conversation with Maranello about the strategy for this race, and they told him the 19-stop strategy would work. So he's clearly been paying attention. So rounds Anthony Noakes, and he's having a bit of a quiet one. 44 seconds now. It will be closing up because of Bazza's climb out of the box, but it is 20 seconds he's got behind the Welshman in front of him. So Paul McGuinness, who will be making appearance in Leeds on Saturday, so watch out for a Scotsman in the C5 build-up in mid-December. So that will be coming up, and we'll keep it all under wraps, Ben. But have you got any potential things that will be happening that you're particularly looking forward to?
I mean, as you just mentioned, Mr. Paul McGuinness, he had to turn up for one of these C5 build-ups at some point. He's an integral part of the league. You know, he's been around since day one, I believe, in the right in saying. So he had to be there at some point. So I'm really excited to see Paul there, but I'm also excited to see everyone all nice and dressed up. You know, we're going to Vegas. We've got to look dapper. We've got to look great. So I'm excited for people to turn up in nice attire rather than Ferrari hoodies that haven't been washed in 2 years.
And we've actually told everyone that they need to select an outfit that suits them better, that really encapsulates their personality. And so as Wace has just driven straight over some front wing there, so he's lucky to get away with that. So on the hard tyres as well, as the last thing you want to do, he went straight. I mean, he could have ignored it, but it's almost like he aimed for it. Vitinho still behind him. But yeah, we're expecting another excellent day of recording. Hopefully, you'll enjoy it when the C5 comes to your doors in December. December 12th?
14th.
14th, there we go.
14th, yeah, December 14th.
12th will be 12th will be Kia, which will not be as much love. It will be me laughing about the fact that the season is finally over and I can rest, Thanos style.
I think that is the biggest birthday present I'll be receiving on the 12th of December, to be fair, is the fact I don't have to deal with this for a couple of months anyway.
Yes, cannot wait. As quietly, Jacko's still sitting in P3, so he's not really making any inroads on the guys in front. So it does look as though there's a kind of a somewhat pace disparity between the top three, because they're all kind of running to the same speed but not catching up on each other. So clearly they're all roughly the same sort of pace in relative. We've got a car stopped at Mirabeau.
Cheeky Rosberg moment there, I think.
Is that for Vitinho is into the box, so he's making his first of two stops, and another set of the medium tyres on for the Brazilian. Into the box also comes Harry Collier. That releases Rageman as yellow flags out now for Scott, who this does not help when at the end of the season I count up the amount of yellow flags that have been awarded during the race, both local, and Scott is basically causing several per lap. So his percentage is going to go up dramatically, and Evil, the next driver to be slapped on the wrist by the stewards with 3 seconds.
The yellow in Sector 2 was for Akeke, who appeals to the pits now. He has got no front wing whatsoever, sadly for him. He's only done 2 laps on those mediums, so his race has just gone from bad to even worse, if that was even possible. Yeah, not a good day at the office for Akeke.
No, which you unfortunately have seen as a trend this season in Kia. We really hope that this season would be the rebirth of Michael Okeke, and that he'd come back and dominate this league after a pretty shocking last season in Cup, which was kind of... We saw what the flashes of brilliance back in that fight between himself and Jamie at Silverstone, when of course they collected each other with 2 corners left to go, and he just lost out on the race win. And ever since then, the man's never recovered, doing it in front of his home fans and in front of all his workmates as well. And he's come back down to Kia and endured, unfortunately, a bit of a shocking season. But he does need to finish the race, because he's still in with a chance of winning the chase at the moment. As I said, the chase still quite close. Bazza leading by Jess by 1 point, and at the moment Jess would be heading to the top of the chase, and she's always said that a Championship 5 appearance is her goal. Of course, she's taken her maiden victory last season. Championship 5 is the one that eluded her. She should have been there last season, but Jacko pulled rank and did a little bit of mischief in the stewards, and managed to sneak his way in, all to completely waste the point of being there by doing nothing in the C5. As Waste now leading by 8.6 seconds over Jacko. So Jacko, who was about 7.2, has now lost about 1.3, 1.4 seconds. So Waste now starting to turn the screw a little bit, with Paul McGuinness now in the book for another penalty. As
he's got no wing again. He went off at turn 1 at the start of this lap, so that I believe is the 3rd nose that he's broken during this race. But as I say, we've got a lot of laps to go. I think this might be a contender to beat Pete's 7 stop. Maybe.
So, and that is including 9 seconds of time penalties. So, It's 2 stops, about to become 3 for Paul McGuinness, and well, out of the box does come. Was that Jacko? That's just it is. Jacko's come out behind Lesty and Fozzie, so great strategy call there from Jacko to make sure that he comes out on fresh tyres behind 2 battling cars that do not need to get out of his way. So, well, if you're Jacko, you've basically just thrown the opportunity, because down the outside goes Evil, and Jacko needs to get his elbows out here because Evil is battling him for position. But Evil throws down the inside of the mid-row and gets the position, and in fact Matt Shepherd can do the same as Paul McGuinness now does a Pete and crosses the pit lane exit white line and gets a 5-second time penalty. So he's clearly been watching Speed Knighton's season to find out how to race around here, as it's all chaos at the Novell chicanes and we've got cars scattering.
Very, very messy. I'm interested by Jacko's strategy there to go onto the mediums at this point. It seems like he was in a consistent, position. Vitinho had pit, he was in clear air, he could just coast around on those hards and just let them work, but he's opted for the mediums, and as I say, he's put him right in the thick of it all. So I don't really understand that one, but time will tell. We'll see how it plays out, but as it currently stands, I think he's made life very difficult for himself to even put a challenge to Waster there.
Yes, as Matt Shepherd throws down the inside of Dustin, gets up into P7. He can now go chase down Evil, who has been retaken by Jacko on that last lap. So the 2 positions in 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th trading places, and now Matt Shepherd can, well, after that front wing change, go on the hunt once again, as Jacko now on the back of Matt Lester. Matt Lester on the soft tyres, Jacko on brand new mediums, needs to avoid any damage. I think Waste has given he can get to the end comfortably, has pretty much sewn this one up. He's into the box now. 12 seconds is his gap between himself and Vitinho. Of course, has got to make more stops. This is one and only for Waste, is across the Novell chicane there for Lesty, who well, if that was real F1, you'd have to have given up that position, but all he did instead was come across and block Jacko. So that's very funny, as Jacko then tags the outside wall. And what we have worked out is doing that around here is that just, well, it brings on, with sim damage, a shed load of tyre wear. So yeah, the more you do that around here, the more you'll be hurting later in your stint. So Jacko wants to possibly be aware as he cuts turn 1 as well, so that'll be a warning.
Yeah, most likely will be.
That'll be a crash.
Oh, he's out. He's out. Oh, he's gone for a move there, which
that was a stupid, dumb move, and there is your safety car.
We've got one. But I tell you what, with a lap to go until the safety car comes out, until the second stage, with this amount of field spread, we're going to see a very, very, very busy pit lane in about a lap or so.
Yeah,
it's going to be hectic. Everyone's going to be getting the second stops out of the way and done with. This hurts, I would say, weighs the most. He was clear and coasting. He was, completely checked out, but now it's brought him right back into that mix. So, thank you, Jacko. Apologies as well, but I think that was probably his own doing there, trying to go for a move on Lesty that wasn't on. The softs were dead for Lesty anyway, so he should have waited. But alas, it's been and done, and we've now got our first safety car.
So, if we look at Ajax's season so far, of course,
yes.
I mean, this is a former European champion, a powerhouse of Dutch football, and I think you can comfortably call them the Chelsea of the Eredivisie now, of that sort of team that think that they're big, but in fact they're actually just made up by scrubs. They currently sit 12th in the Eredivisie. 12 points to their name, only 3 points off of the drop zone of currently being held by FC Utrecht. We've got Vitesse Arnhem. I'm surprised Vitesse Arnhem are down in the drop zone as well, and FC Volendam. Ben, it was a shocking start to the season for Ajax. Of course, they spent the first 10 games in the relegation zone. Where do they go from here?
Well, I'd like to say the only way is up, but I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I mean, I've not been keeping up to date with their sort of transfers and whatnot. I'm assuming they have sold to bigger clubs, as that's what they usually do. The main one being Kudus, obviously. But I don't know. I think if they get a Champions League spot out of this season, it'd be great. But I can't see it happening, because I think they're just a bit crap. And when you've got fans like Michel, You know, they're very, very aggressive. You can tell the fans aren't happy. It's going to be one of those seasons where I think a few more directors' boxes are going to get kicked in. A bit more vandalism around the stadium. The poor Johan Cruyff Arena, of course. But it's not pretty, is it? It's not pretty. But it's
I
fun
mean,
to watch.
that's just typical Dutch behaviour of just throwing your toys out the pram when it's not going your way. But you look at you look at the top, like the big teams in Holland. Of course, you've got PSV Eindhoven. You've got I think the team closest to my heart, Feyenoord. Of course, the legend Pierre van Hooijdonk, who then went on to be very, very average for Nottingham Forest, I believe it was. FC Twente, AZ Alkmaar, and of course the biggest team in the Eredivisie, Go Ahead Eagles, which I wish I was in the room when they decided to name that team for what was possibly happening outside. That I thought someone just said, "What do we call our team?" And then outside a bird flew past, and some guy just shouted out, "Go Ahead Eagle," and
Eagles.
yeah, that'll do.
And that's it. Yep.
Yeah, I mean Excelsior are also in there, which if you're a Stan Lee or a Marvel fan, then that is also very funny. So, yeah, I think you look at Ajax currently sitting in 12th position. Of course, some really poor results for them. A draw at the weekend, but you go back to some of the results that they've had. Of course, it was 2-2 at the weekend for them, and you look at, apart from the 4-1 win against Heerenveen, which was really them starting to come back and impose a little bit of normalcy in sort of the league that we've seen previously. But the manager change clearly making some sort of difference. But a 4-3 loss to the team currently in the drop zone of FC Utrecht, who I've actually got a shirt from when they do those. Have you ever done one of those secret shirt boxes?
I debated it, but I decided to opt for the drive crate instead, and I really regret that decision until the day I'll die, really. That was a complete waste of money. That was 30 quid completely down the drain, and I wish I did the retro shirts instead.
See, I've done both, and I still have the drive crate, and I've done it. I'm going to cancel it at the end of this year. And it has, over the season, I think it's been somewhat worth it. You do get some shocker months, but you do actually get some quite decent stuff. I think I've got my hat collection is quadrupled. But yeah, there are some pretty decent things that I do actually use quite regularly. But yeah, no, I've done a couple of secret shirts, and one of them was FC Utrecht. I've got a Mexican League one, and what else have I got? I've got a Bundesliga Zwei as well. I've got one as well, which I actually quite like doing them. You can just tell them as well, I don't want that one. So I tell them next time, I don't want an Eredivisie one next, and so you'll end up getting something.
Yeah.
So I quite like that. But whilst we've still got the safety car out, we can also start. What was our next? The Las Vegas Grand Prix. Let's discuss the Las Vegas Grand Prix.
I was pleasantly surprised. That's my two-word roundup for the Las Vegas GP. Was pleasantly surprised. I think, it on the surface it didn't really look like a very. Oh, we're gonna have to wrap this up really quickly, but it didn't look like a really good track that's going to be good for racing. But I think with the DRS, obviously, it really, really helped it be quite an entertaining race. People were going for moves, and I think the one thing I'm worried about is with it being towards the start of the season next time round, whether people will make those reckless moves that they have this time round, considering there wasn't really much to play for and they could take a bit more risk. But time will tell on that one. Who knows? But I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm sure we will get safety cars breed safety cars, so I'm sure we'll get another one before the end of this race. As Wace is going to kick us off and get us underway, and he's gone. And it's him from Vitinho, from Matt Shepherd, the guys behind on penalties. Rageman in P4. Jacko is the loser out of this because he is all the way down, retired out of the race, watching these guys accumulate points after making a stupid overtaking move. Not even a move, attempt on Lesty. Going up the hill, so as Bazza then picks up 3 seconds already, but Vitinho is starting to just close in a little bit on Wace, and behind Matt Shepherd and Harry Collier were battling for position, as I've lost game sound, hopefully you guys can hear it, but Rageman P3, Matt Shepherd, Harry Collier, Lesty now your top 6. Jess a little bit of a loser as well, dropping down to P9. Quinn having an absolutely nothing race, as he currently sits in P10, but comfortably through. Of course, won the race last week, so he's already through to the next round. And you could basically call him a C5 driver, along with Waste. And Waste doesn't really even need to win this race to get there. But Lesty almost clattering the wall on the entry through the swimming pool chicane, and he's got away with it, but taking a lot of entry curb and a lot of speed, but onto the B pit straight. He gets us going, and he's actually closing back in on Harry. Harry, who does not need to let him pass. These two are fighting for separate issues. Lesty, who needs a point, effectively, just to ensure himself in the next round. Harry Collier looking for a way into the Championship 5, and he's going to have to work for it pretty substantially, because he's got some points to make up in the chase. He's minus 14, so some work to do for Harry, so he needs a good result. But it's been somewhat of a clean restart, but you see those gaps starting to build already. As I just take a breather there. Ben's clearly died of boredom. As there is a crash. And
apologies, I was on mute. That's a rookie error by me while you were talking.
Oh well, this is what happens when you bring in amateurs. As Rageman has.
It is.
Oh, that is. Oh no. Oh no.
Now, what I was trying to say before I realised I was muted was that there was a couple of people who'd done non-mandatory stops through that first safety car period, but it seems like they're going to be able to rectify themselves right now. And there was a couple that I had listed down. Was Fozzie, who has stayed out, so he's going to have to pit again, I hope. Scott, Bazza, and Rageman, who all served them on lap 19, which is a rookie error. A total rookie error, because it was one lap before the stage. And considering the fact the safety car was out until 21 anyway, it didn't really matter. But there's a couple that come in now who've got to be completing the strategies. I'm interested by Quinn being in. Oh, he's been sat for ages, but he's on soft, and they're not going to last at the end of the race, I don't feel. After watching that first stint, seeing people struggle around on 11 lap old ones, it's going to be tough for him to get to the end. But I'm going to have to have a look around and work out who's done and who's not right now, because there's a couple of safety cars.
Yeah, good luck with that. I tend to just ignore the stops and trust that they've all done them, but I don't have a trusty sidekick. Usually Yuri's too busy kind of trying to form words that are longer than 3 letters that don't have J's and K's in them. But Quinn currently sitting at the back of this one. Well, I say this, Bazza and Scott a lap down. Scott yet to unlap himself past OKK's car, but somehow he's going to be recovering some points in this championship. OKK in the wall before to back, so I'm not quite sure how that one happened. Maybe trying to avoid something, but well, it was Rageman that had gone around. He kind of just parked it and just hoped that everyone had missed him, and for some reason no one paid attention to it, and were all just ploughing straight into the Nova chicane as if there was nothing there, and were running straight into the back of him. So we do see some more pit stops. It's Rageman in for another one, and it is Scott in for another one, onto another set of soft tyres. As Ben said, it's going to be a tricky call to get those softs to the end as they come out line astern back onto the circuit. This kind of helps out Waste a little bit. It gets rid of a few more laps. Of course, he had a comfortable lead, but as we said, safety cars breed safety cars, and especially in JACKOCAR, they just can't help themselves sometimes. Vitinho on those hard tyres is going to get to the end comfortably. Lesty up to P3 now without a penalty, so is effectively a P1 of Waste and a P2 of Lesty, and then you've got Jess without a penalty back in P6 as well. So given if she can get to the end and stay relatively competitive, or if we get a late safety car and she stays within the confines of the track limits, which is for most street circuits is actually quite easy to do, but Monaco there is actually quite a bit of runoff that you can pick up penalties in, so we'll see if that happens. But she might be looking at a second consecutive podium. I'm sure she will be hoping so, but safety car in this lap, and just realised I broke the golden rule of actually talking about the race during a safety car.
You're doing me and Pete at Abu Dhabi, was it?
Yeah, I know. I was
Don't worry about it.
absolutely outraged with how professional you were pretending to be. So
We were great. We were great.
yeah. So here we go. Attempt number 2 at a safety car restart. Wace once again will lead the pack away, and he can go, and he, for some reason, takes a very wide line before getting on the power, but he's clearly caught out Vitinho, whose ping has not allowed him to catch up yet. He was 0.8 of a second across the line. Do we get everyone through turn 1? It looks as though Matt Shepherd got it all wrong, and he's now on the back of Jess, who is going to just about let him through, and I think that's a case of Jess lifting rather than Matt forcing it, but he now gets up into P6, so Jess is clearly trying to play the long game. Bazza does a peep and picks up another time penalty, as Matt Shepherd is all out of shape, trying to get some temperature back into these tyres, and can now try and bring himself back up on these brand new, or semi-brand new, soft tyres that he's got to nurse them for, what, 13 laps? So not an easy task.
No, it's not an easy task. Just as you're going through all that, I'm just ticking off all the people who are done and who's not. I believe Vitinho needs to stop again. He boxed on lap 20, which of course which was the stage lap, which means that you can only box on lap 21 onwards. So Vitinho, as it currently stands, he's on the hards, which I imagine he's probably going to take to the end. I hope he's listening, because he needs to stop again.
He won't be listening.
So
so good luck with that, Vitinho. If you are listening, make sure you drop into the box and visit us for one more time to pick up yourself some soft tyres. Free, of course, if you box within the next 3 laps, and even quicker if you put it in the wall, as you almost did just then. Just like to mention as well, a driver that's not with us tonight, who told us that he was out, but is weirdly, as of every time that we've raced here in Monaco, or most street circuits in general, is in the comments watching along. Mr. Langston, good to have you. Always good to hear from you. More as we've got into the wall, Rico's done a Perez, and
dear. Thank God there's no one else coming through.
Oh, don't do that, Rico. You want a front wing at some point. As Rageman picks up 3 seconds. He's now on the back of Quinn, who's also trying to hound the back of Harry Collier. Harry, who will want nothing of Quinn, due to the fact that Quinn's got a penalty and Harry does not. So Harry will be wanting to stay penalty free. DRS now enabled, and Harry wanting to keep Quinn behind, but of course Quinn a little bit deep into the anti-Noakes corner there, and that's allowed Harry just to break away by 0.8 of a second across the line. So the field spread starting to do its thing once again, as these guys don't like to be around each other on circuit. They tend to wait for someone to make a mistake or pick up a penalty rather than try and overtake. You can give them a little bit of slack, seeing as it's Monaco, but we have seen in Cup that you can make some pretty daring overtaking attempts and get away with it, as I think that might have been a little bit of a clip into the wall for Harry Collier. I heard a thud, but he is still closing in now on Jess for 7th position, as Wace has kept that gap at around about 8-9 of a second between himself and Vitinho. He's going to want to break DRS. Not too powerful around here. Of course, you only get it on the pit straight, and it does get outside of that 1 second window, so he can now break away. And in fact, Vitinho must have hit a wall, because he's lost 0.8, almost a second, and he's still got both end plates, but he's just somehow lost 1.1 seconds in 3 corners.
Well, for Vitinho's sake, I don't wish it on anybody, but I hope he does have a little crash so he can box again, because I'm looking, and I think, if I'm right in saying, don't hold it against me, I believe that Vitinho and Lesty both currently need to stop again. They stopped at the end of lap 20, which isn't allowed because that is the stage lap. So as it currently stands, you've got Waze in P1, and then Matt Shepherd, who's in P4 right now, should be net P2.
Well, a loving and concerning league owner would perhaps say to Matt Lester, go into a chat with him and just drop in and say you need to make another pit stop. But I'm sure the callous man that is Jack Ricketts will allow the Matt Lester to get that DSQ and lose a heap of points, so that Jacko can potentially try and sneak another way in, as Scott is driving around without a front wing. We've also got Harry Collier, who is out of the box, having made a stop. So he does make his second mandatory.
Oh, Barry has a puncture. He's in the hairpin now. He's got a left rear puncture, and he is going to be... Oh, he's drifted around the hairpin. That is brilliantly done. 8.5 out of 10 for that one. Yeah, he's going to be struggling to get back to the pits. Thankfully, there's not many cars in the way, but by the end of this lap, that lead pack of 5, they're going to be close to him. It's going to be potentially messy.
And Baz is doing the right thing of taking this super slowly. Will Rico notice? Oh, just about. Ooh. As he flashes past him. But Baz knows that you have to, with a rear puncture, you have to take it so carefully. As we go back up to the top, that gap that was 1.8 seconds between Wace, Vitinho and Lesty is now 0.4 of a second. So there is really nothing in it now, as the yellow flags are out, and they probably... There's a good chance they might actually catch Bazza. It's going to be close. They might just get away with it, but they're going to be coming up very, very quickly on him. So he comes up to the Rascash shortly. So I think they might just miss him by about 5 seconds or so.
Should be safe, yeah. Very lucky, but well done for Bazza really, for being able to coast it round and get it out of the walls all the way back home. But that wasn't good for him. That must have happened very early on in the lap, because he was struggling through Casino. That's how early on that was. So that must have been a full lap nearly of a puncture tyre for him.
Yes, we've got now Vitinho really starting to put the pressure on Wace, and Wace of course on the medium tyres that have done 13 laps, so they can go long. These tyres, they don't die as much as the soft tyres do, but clearly the hard tyres that Vitinho's currently got attached to all 4 corners of the car is... Oh, that's going to be a tag, surely. As he gets a look at the lag spike we're getting here from all the way from Brazil. Vitinho probably shocking the life out of the Welshman as they go down into Portier. And behind, Lesty and Matt Shepherd have their own little battle. As we've got Scott Hayes, I believe that's pointing in the wrong direction and has cut the chicane. But don't worry, he's going to go 2 laps down, and Lesty is out of the race, clips the inside wall going into the Novell chicane, and surely that brings out a safety car. There's a car in the middle of the circuit, literally right on the racing line, and it disappears. Jess actually skips the chicane as the car disappears and takes a 3-second time penalty for it. Excellent coding.
Brilliant coding. It's the game's the game. I mean, thankfully for Lesty, he doesn't have to serve that second stop now, which is good for him. But yeah, I honestly expected a safety car out of that one, really. I'm not sure how that happened, because it was a bit of an unorthodox place to crash. He didn't hit that barrier on the inside, he hit the wall before it. So I don't know if he's been pushed out there or if someone's done that to him, but I didn't get the angle of it, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I don't know how that one's happened, but well, I'm assuming we'll probably see something in the steering room very soon if there's been anything wrong about that one.
Yeah, so Leslie into the comments already, so he had the stream up. Hopefully you were listening, Leslie, that you actually had to box again. Unfortunately you were meant to do it with all 4 wheels attached. Matt Shepherd is now currently sitting in P7 after making a stop. He is 13.5 seconds back. There is, a change for position.
Around the corner.
And Wade's back up in front of him. Vitinho's not going to give up on this one. I think Wade's tyres have almost gone. There's a yellow flag as they've navigated around the lap car. But this battle is going on. We've still got plenty of laps left to go. We've still got, 6 laps left to go. And Vitinho really starting to hound the back of Wade. It looks like Wade's tyres are not optimum at all. Vitinho just needs to play this one carefully. He does have a time penalty. But he's going to have to be careful because that lag spike has got a little bit of a tag to the gearbox written all over it.
I'm starting to think whether Wace has got some sort of side pod or underbody damage here, because the game shows he's got no loss of front wing or nothing like that, but some of these longer corners he's really struggling to get the car around.
I mean, there's a good chance that across the swimming pool that you can damage the floor. As down the inside, that's a forceful overtake.
In perfect JACKOCAR fashion.
That's a JACKOCAR NFA.
there wasn't much contact there, I've got to admit. That was a proper send by Vitinho. If his stops were actually mandatory and I've got this wrong, then that's a big move and fair play for that. But he's got to stand out 3 seconds now, so he's got to really push and try and use this free space now to his advantage.
I think there's a good chance.
Who looks like he's got a limping car here.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that Wace has damaged his car, skipping the. If you look at this curb as we go through the chicane now on the left-hand side, bouncing over that, if you hit that, effectively trying to skip it, you damage the underfloor. So if he's done that a couple of times, he's now up to orange floor. He's going to be losing a couple of tenths a lap at least. Vitinho burnt all his battery getting the move done, but he's already broken a second, so there's a good chance that Victor Souza could take the race win, and it could come down to the stewards as getting out the way up the hill is Scott, as he sees the leaders coming through for another time around. He must be getting dizzy with the amount of times he's seen the leaders go past him. As Evil now is not out of the conversation of the race win. Still sits on the penalty, of course. Has 13 laps on those mediums. Vitinho's tyres will be much... I mean, you can put the hards on and do 3 or 4 race distances on those hard tyres. So you've got to think that Vitinho's in pole position now. 2.1 seconds his lead, 35 of 39 done. Harry Collier, still without a penalty, sitting in P8 and is actually making up ground on Matt Shepherd as well. So those soft tyres will be used a little bit, with Matt Shepherd equally trying to close in on Quinn, who's somehow found his way into P6 with all this chaos that's gone on around him, and right on the back of Jess.
I think that's probably was Quinn's game plan when he fucked his quality lap, quite frankly. I think just try and keep his nose clean and just try and pick up points where he can. He won't mind seeing wasting second with the gap that those two have. As you said before, these two have got, I wouldn't even say 1 foot, I'd say they've probably got both feet in the C5 at this point, with only 2 races left to go after this. He'll be happy with this. He'll be happy, very happy, but it's going to be interesting. I'm watching Wace on board right now, and he just can't get through those. There's the parts of the track where the car needs to be agile. There's nothing to it. He's turning like a truck. You would think he has no wing, or at least half a wing. He just can't do it. So I think your theory on it being a floor issue and going over some of the high curbs a bit too aggressively, I think is probably true, because he's really falling off here.
Yeah, 3.4 seconds now, with Evil crawling over his gearbox as they go down towards the Novo chicane for the 36th time. And thank you everyone for joining us. There's actually quite a few of you watching tonight. You're watching the JACKOCAR Kia Series Round 10, the first elimination race in the playoffs. We'll be losing 2 drivers from tonight. One of them is looking as though it could be Rico down in 10th position, and in fact Rageman as well, 9th, also under a real chance of falling out of the playoffs. You're listening to the voices of Gareth Hall and Ben Shaw. I was actually given the option of who I'd like to commentate with, and it turned out that Kyle would put his name forward, Jamie Numbers put his name forward, and Ben put his name forward. And after listening to Kyle's quite impressive commentary in the race last week in the Cup Series, however, he did use a very, very brash and aggressive word to describe what he said about me when he's been racing me, which I wouldn't ever say on stream. So I said to Jacko, there's no way that I'm commentating with that cunt. So Ben came in, and Evil is currently right on the back of Waze. And Liam, if you're listening in, just send it on him. He's got nothing left. You might as well. You've got nothing to lose here. And Liam needs to make up some points if he is to make it in through the chase. He's 15 points back on Bazza, and of course Bazza now down in 11th position, so won't be picking up as many points. So Liam, he might be playing long game here, but lap 38, so penultimate lap of this one, Vitinho a 5.5 second advantage. He's got a penalty, but Wace doesn't look like he's got any answer, and that car is limping to the finish.
It's limping, and I'm also just looking further down the field, and with Jacko's retirement, it's going to be really interesting to see how close these cuts are. I believe he was +7 on the cut before we started this, so I mean, as it currently stands, if I'm looking down the grid, it looks like the league owner might have made a very, very costly mistake. it could be heartbreak in Bournemouth.
As down the, you can see Wace hit the wall in the exit of the casino. Liam went down the inside into Mirabeau. As finally, Scott gets to the penultimate. It would be the penultimate lap, but I'm sure he's on a lap about 14 at the moment. But he's put it in the wall at Sandoval, and his chase campaign got pretty much impossible now. You got to think that he's going to have to win a race if he is to make his way to a Championship 5. But Vitinho is coming onto the final lap. Wace almost got it all wrong, but Evil pulled out of the move around the outside. He could have potentially have tried to make it side by side through the hairpin, but he pulled out of it and he's let Wace back up in front of him. He's going to follow him. The thing for Liam here is that, yes, he's got a time penalty. It's only 3 seconds. If he'd just kind of sent it on Wace, he could have probably broken potentially those 3 seconds about a lap and a half, 2 laps ago, because of the fact that Wace is limping home as much as he is. As we are on the final lap, as we've got into Mirabeau and into the hairpin comes Vitinho for the last time. We've still got a battle on circuit down for 5th and 6th position with Quinn, Shep both hounding Jess, and it's like playing Kiss Chase in the playground, isn't it, Quinn? As he's following Jess around the playground, and he's got Matt Shepherd just sitting there, just cucking the pair of them as he's just watching. He's like a bit of a voyeur. He is in this little battle. But
brilliant use of the word cooking there. I like how you just slipped that one in as well. It was brilliant. 10 out of 10.
Thank you. So Vitinho, 3 more corners left to go for the Brazilian to take his first win in what feels like 2 seasons. It's been a long time for Victor Souza. He's going to come home. Will it count? Do the penalty? Will he have made the right pit stops? Will he lose another win on a disqualification? Victor is your winner here in Monaco. Wace will come home in P2. He'll hold it because of the penalties. Evil will come home P3, and out of the race goes Rico.
Rico's solidified his exit. Unfortunately, I think it was done for anyway. But it's sad to see him end on that. But it's even more sad to see Scott end on that note, because he's been. Do you know what? Fair play to him. You know, you'll see some people in Cup, if they have a bad start, they'll just retire the car and say, fuck it, we're not doing this anymore. He has been resilient the entire way through and letting people by and just trying to get about his own race, and he's ended up crashing a lap before the end. We've got a feel for the guy. I think we should give him a couple of points just for that, for good sportsmanship.
Good. Some charity points. Exactly. We'll take him off of Jacko. He doesn't need them. He's not going to get to it. But so yeah, there is your race for this evening. Actually a little bit more entertaining than Singapore. Only the 2 safety cars tonight, and Rangeman takes the in-game driver of the day. That means absolutely fuck all, so don't worry about it. We've got a very happy Brazilian, and one of the best national anthems on the planet steps atop. If only the game coded in the national anthems. They're completely royalty free because they're a national anthem, so there's no reason why they couldn't play them at this point. But instead you're going to watch the same animation that you've had for the last 3 years, and the people that are dead behind the eyes currently looking up at the podium. There you go. It's the animation of the champagne that we love to see. And there is the no, don't spray me. This is all quite sexual.
No.
So
with the prince in watching as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Terrible.
They're just trying to. Yeah, exactly. There's and where are all the dudes holding hands that stand in front of the podium as well? And so Vitinho is your race winner in a relatively quick time for Monaco, 52 minutes and 40 seconds. He takes it ahead of Wace on the Joker. Couldn't get the Joker to work. Liam holds position P3 to P3. Jess moves up from P5 to P4, so a good race from her again. Quinn, biggest mover, I think it is, from P14 up to P5, somehow gets away with a decent haul of points. Who cares? He's already into the Championship 5. Harry Collier in P6. Dustin P7, Matt Shepherd P8, Rageman P9, and then we lost Rico, so he will not get any points. Unfortunately, he is eliminated from the playoffs, and he is joined by Rageman as well, down in P9. Bazza finished 2 laps down, sorry. Scott was 4 laps down, I believe, but retired with a lap and a half left to go. So unfortunately forfeits at least a handful of points, and then we had retirements for Lesty, AKK, Jacko, and Paul McGuinness put it in the wall before he ran out of front wings and front and tyres in the pit lane. 6 stops for Scott in that one, so that was your race high.
One short, sadly. One short of Pete's record, so he can't even take anything away from the race, which is even more of a shame, I think. But the VAR is going on as we speak. It's been requested. It's gone to Stockley Park, so I'm sure not long after this race we'll be able to give a definitive answer on whether Vitinho has won this race. If he has won it, he's done it in very good fashion. I think, considering Waze was so far ahead and was so comfortable, to be able to get past him, albeit probably with some damage for Waze as well, to be able to get out in front and just, maintain that and keep it, especially with the penalty in mind as well. It was a very good drive by Vitinho. So I hope that we don't have to take that win away from him, because it's nice to have a different winner, isn't it?
Absolutely. As I believe to the standings, that does mean that Jess, even with the win for, if it does stand, even for the win for Vitinho, it is Jess that goes to the top of the chase standings only by a few points. It is then, so it'd be Jess, then Victor, then Bazza would be your top 3 in the chase, with 2 more races left to go in this part of the season before we go to the Championship 5. Of course, different calendar in Kia to what you get in the Cup, so 2 more races. We know that we've got 2 more street tracks next week. It is Las Vegas, the first time that JACKOCAR goes to Las Vegas, and we get a little bit of a taster for what the Cup guys will be doing in 4 weeks? 4 weeks time?
4 weeks, yeah.
4 weeks time.
It'd be interesting. I'm assuming it's going to be a really good race, because there's not many corners, so there's not much actually for these guys to really.
I'm fully preparing for someone to go full throttles, full Norris into the wall. Like, it's going to happen.
It will probably happen. I'm just getting word from Jacko that the playoffs, as it stands, is Rico out, obviously, as we've already mentioned, and Robin Border.
Yeah, shocker
that is,
there.
It currently stands. Jacko has got away with one there.
Yeah, shocker for Robin.
Completely got away with one there. That's a very lucky, a lucky escape. As I say, it's all,
Robin
had
kept that out the wall at least once or twice, that should have been him through.
It should have. But that's the moments that makes or breaks, isn't it?
Absolutely. So Jacko can have a happy wank tonight that he is through to the next round. And we can look forward to some actual racing, which will happen this Thursday, where you will see possibly the greatest night of racing of your life around Mexico City.
It never fails to disappoint, does it? It's always a great race in Mexico.
We've had yourself and Jake, or Jake O'Sullivan in nose to tail previously. We've had myself and Yuri on the podium. We've had me knocked out at this stage for the last 2 seasons in a row. I'm currently 3 points above Corey. I have told Jacko I'm going to go full centre on Prost in Corey. So expect to see a very angry Corey and a very happy Gareth as I make it through to get eliminated in the round of 6. But you can join Jacko and I'm sure one of his rotating commentators, which one he can find in the closet this time. They will be bringing you the Mexico City Grand Prix on Thursday evening from 7 p.m. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for joining. Hopefully it wasn't too shit for you tonight.
I'm impressed. I expected 5 safety cars. I expected us to just be sat here waffling on about Gareth South getting a Las Vegas GP for half the time. But you know what? That was actually a fairly good race. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, not bad. Well, you're welcome back, because you're far easier to understand than the usual one that kind of sits here. Just about. I mean, the accents are both as bad as each other, but
well, yeah.
At least this one, at least you put normal letters in normal positions most of the time. But thanks for joining us, guys. Hopefully you somewhat enjoyed it. We'll be back next week for the race around Las Vegas. Trust me, it's going to be an absolute shit show, so you're not going to want to miss it. If not, join us on Thursday for Mexico City. Have a great week.